What is going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Andrew's Awesome Carcast. As always, I'm your host, Andrew Francis, and let's just roll right into it. So, just a couple things I really wanted to get off my chest today. Stuff that's been on my mind. Well, as of recording this, today is Wednesday, May 29th. Today's Wednesday, May 29th, and really want to start off by talking about something that happened over the long Memorial weekend. Unfortunately, it's not good. It's just I'm struggling even a little to say it now, just because thinking about it really chokes me up. But so what happened on Friday evening, I got a text from my brother, and he was looking for my mom. Like, he couldn't get a hold of my mom, and so I relayed it to my mom, like, hey, Mike's looking for, my brother's name is Mike's looking for you. And so she then called my brother, and they had a conversation, and when I hang up, I could see my mom was was like panicked, like distressed a little bit, so, I asked her what's going on. And she said that my brother's wife, so my sister-in-law, her dad was in the hospital. And I asked what happened, and at that moment we didn't officially know what had happened, but I said, well, it looks like he had a stroke. He's in the hospital. And so at that point, it was kind of panicked, all hands on deck kind of thing. Like, I, again, didn't have all the information, didn't really know what was going on. And so my mom and I went down to my brother's place to watch the baby, my niece. While my brother and his wife, who is now, let me think, 6 months pregnant with their second child, another girl, because they were going to the hospital, to be with the rest of her family, and handle all that. So my mom and I stayed with my niece until about 2 a.m. when they got back, and my brother then pulled us aside and gave us the lowdown on what's going on. And so it turns out he had a stroke. And what had happened was, I said it was Friday. He was just leaving for work that day, and apparently, as he was backing his car out of it, and he was in the parking structure, out in his office parking structure, as he was backing his car out, he hit two other parked cars, barely nicked them, though, from my understanding. And one of the cars, the driver was in the car at the time. He was sitting in the car doing whatever. And so they get out, and I guess I don't know if he knew them, or just the damage was so minor anyway. So they're like, oh, this is so minor, there's no need to get the insurance companies involved. Let's just go back upstairs, and settle this now. So cool. So they head back up, and they're working all that out, and then my understanding is that then he told the other drivers, like, oh, excuse me for a moment, I actually left something in my car that I need to go get. So he goes back down, and I guess he was gone for a noticeable amount of time. Hey, where'd he go? It's oh, he went to go get something for his car, but oh, he's not back yet. That's weird. And so they go down there, and the parking attendant had noticed it, and that he had collapsed. He fell and hit his head against the concrete and was just bleeding. So the parking attendant noticed it. They had called an ambulance. They took him to the hospital, and that's when kind of my mom and I were alerted to it, and then, like I said, we went down there, stay the night, yada, yada, yada. And then so again, my brother gets back. He's telling me, Mom, what happened. And they said, yeah, he had a massive stroke. And apparently, you know, I didn't really know this until all this happened. I started researching it, but apparently there's two kinds of strokes. One is a clog, which is you know, I mean, like, no stroke is really safe, but is the safer of the two. Because with that one, you can just remove the blockage, and, you know, it's more likely that the person's gonna recover. But then the second one is the one he had, which is a bleed. Because, you know, stroke, it's all in the brain. But apparently, when you have a bleed, like, that part of the brain that's bleeding out, that's damaged, can never be healed, can never be repaired. All it can really do is fuck up the rest of it. So, you know, like, the important thing, my understanding, is to stop the bleeding as soon as possible, you know, before it, you know, fucks everything else. And so he was having a bleed. And at that point, my brother had said that best case scenario was going to be that he would be paralyzed entirely on the right side of his body, and he would be blind for the rest of his life. Like, that was, at the moment, that was best case scenario. But at the time, I remember still being more optimistic, because due to the nature of his injury, like, his brain was still pretty swollen, and so they couldn't properly perform, like, a CT scan, you know? And so, so, you know, I was thinking, well, you know, like, once they kind of get this thing more under control, you know, like, they can get a better feel of what's going on, you know, maybe it's not all that bad. And, you know, even if it is, you know, like, okay, paralyzed on half your body and blind, that really sucks. But, you know, if you're still sharp, you know, if you're still pretty cognizant, you know, like, I figure you can lead a decent life, you know? Like, in my mind, I immediately jumped to Stephen Hawking, who, you know, couldn't move for years. Of course, he had his eyesight, but I mean, still, you know, like, he couldn't move, and he was able to function fine. You know, so again, at the time, that was just, I was looking on the bright side as best I could. And so, yeah, he was hospitalized for the rest of the weekend. And then on Sunday, I believe it was Sunday evening or Monday morning, I forget which, when the doctor told the family, like, hey, I got to give it to you straight, like, he's in a bad way. This is not survivable. You know, you got to make a decision here. And so the family made the decision to, you know, to pull the plug, which in my personal opinion was absolutely the right decision. I'm not one for suffering. You know, like, the moment you know someone is in a state where they cannot improve, they can only suffer and get worse until they die, put them out of their misery. Like, if I'm ever in that situation, that's what I want for me. Like, I don't want to suffer and just bring everyone down and be a burden to people. And like, if I'm ever in that situation, like, put me out. It's fine. I will thank you for it. But so, yeah, so, you know, they took him off, and he passed away on Monday. And now don't get me wrong, he was again, he's, you know, he was / is, I don't really know exactly which one is more proper at the moment, but you know, my sister-in-law's dad, so, you know, I wasn't his best friend on the planet. I wasn't his autobiographer. I don't know his whole life story, but from the interactions I had with him, from what I knew about him, he was a very good man. Like, anytime I ever saw him, you know, he was nothing but a blast to be around. You know, always had a smile on his face. You know, one thing I know he and I shared was that his favorite beer is Guinness, like mine's. You know, like, whenever he would come to my house, or I would go to his, there would always be Guinness. And, you know, that was always something cool. And he was always just, you know, he's always just a pleasure to be around. You know, he's a good man. but just fucking random chance, whatever, had a stroke and died. You know, no history. You know, that's another thing. Like no history of this in his family or anything like that. He himself, you know, healthy as a horse his whole life. No real, real medical problems or conditions. Dude was just trying to go home from work on a Friday, and you know, he never made it home. And you know, I can't imagine how my sister-in-law and the rest of her family are feeling at the moment. And like, as if that wasn't bad enough, if that whole situation wasn't horrible enough, the kicker is that, so this happened on a Friday, right? That Saturday was his father's 95th birthday. And then on top of that, Monday was his youngest daughter's birthday. So, you know, he was looking forward, you know, just a great weekend, you know, a nice long, relaxing weekend with his family, you know, gonna celebrate his father's 95th birthday, and then on the Monday get celebrate his youngest daughter's birthday. She turned, she's younger than me, she turned like 28 or 29, somewhere around that, I forget, but yeah, like, you know, but just random chance or what have you, he never made it. And so now, you know, we got the funeral coming up soon. And like I said, as sad as, you know, as sad as it makes me for, like I said, thinking about the family that left behind and how much I know they love and they miss him. Like, I can't imagine what they're going through. Like, I try to imagine, like, what it'd be like if that were my dad. And, you know, like, it makes me sad and depressed and a bit angry to no end, but like, I can never imagine. That's one of those situations where I believe you can never truly know what you're gonna do, how you react till you're put in it. And it's a situation I hope, you know, I wouldn't wish on anyone. So yeah, like that was something that happened over the weekend. That was, you know, pretty much the only thing that happened over the weekend. But I mean, kind of transitioning off of that. So like that made me think. So, you know, like whenever death is a part of the equation, you know, like you start to think like, man, like, how am I living my life? Like, you take stock on your own life, you know, like, because like I said, no you know, serious medical history or anything like that. This just came out of nowhere. So, you know, like, death can come for you, you know, at any time. And so, you know, like, I started to think about that for myself. Like, man, like, what if I wake up tomorrow, like, I'm going to work, I'm coming home from work or whatever, and, you know, boom, my lights go out, and that's the end of it. You know, it's like, how would I look back on my life, you know? How would I feel about it? And that's going to be the meat of what I'm going to talk about today. So, I first and foremost, I think about his situation, like what happened with him. Like, he was leaving work, you know, and he was a lawyer. Like, he had his own practice, his own firm, you know, so he was his own boss. So even though I never really discussed it with him in great detail, you know, nothing other than pass, like, oh, how's your day going, kind of thing. Like, I imagined he enjoyed what he did. Like, I imagine he liked getting up in the morning and going to work. You know, I know for a fact he was very good at what he did. And I imagine, you know, being the boss, and like, he got to pick the people he worked with and the cases and whatnot he took. So I imagine he enjoyed what he did, or at least I hope he did. And so I look at that, I compare that to myself, like, do you like what you do? And the answer is flat out no. I don't like what I do at all. If I died, say right now, on my way home from work, I would be upset. Of course, I'd be dead, so really I wouldn't be anything. But I would be upset because, like, this is not this is not how I'd want to be remembered, you know? Like, because, you know, like I said, if I died right now coming home from work, I'd be like, oh, Andy died coming home from work. Like, oh, you know, he was an insurance broker for so-and-so. Like, I don't want that. Like, I don't want that to be how people, you know, even casually remember me, casually talk to me. Like, oh, he died coming home from his insurance broker job. Because, like, and I've been trying to leave my job for a little while now. I just haven't been able to find anything, you know, any permanent solution. But I'm still working on it. I'm going to keep working on it. Like, if anything, in terms of that, this motivates me more. Because, you know, like I said, it gives, you have those moments in life where everything just gets put into perspective. Like, you know, like, how are you living your life? Like, what really matters, kind of thing. Like, it's a shame that that it takes something like this to, you know, really make us take stock, but at least that's how it works for me anyways. So, like I said, I'm really kind of doubling my efforts now to get out of my current work situation, because it is not at all ideal. Like, it is not what I want for myself. And to go on top of that too, so check this out. This is another reason why I hate my fucking job. So, like I said, he passed on that Monday. Monday is Memorial Day. I go back into work on Tuesday. So I go back into work on Tuesday, and as I've said before, I work in a very small office. It's normally just me and one other person. Occasionally there's one other guy, and then even rarer than that, my boss will come in. And so, you know, so I tell my coworker, you know, like what happened over the weekend. I tell her this thing, and she's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, that's awful, you know. Kind of what you'd expect a normal, decent human being to react. And so my boss is not in that day, but, you know, I think to myself, well, you know, with this happening, the funeral is going to be forthcoming. Like, I should tell my boss, like, hey, just giving you a heads up, you know, like, there's a funeral coming that I'm going to have to attend. So I write him an email, so he's not in. And, you know, knowing my boss, he never really answers my phone calls. He prefers emails. So I email him. It's like, hey, you know, so you know, over the weekend, you know, sister-in-law's dad died. There's going to be a funeral. If it's on a work day, I'm going to need the day off to go to that funeral. And I write all that, you know, the email says more than that, but I write that email and I send it to him. A few minutes later, I get a response from him that literally just, this is literally all the email said. Yeah, okay. And that bugged the shit out of me. It really did. Now, granted, I understand he didn't know this man at all. And, you know, like, even looking just at the email, I get it. You know, like, my brother's wife's dad. It's like, I get it. Like, if you don't know the situation, like, he doesn't know how close I am to her side of the family and all that. Like, he doesn't know, so I get it. This seems like an obscure connection to make. Like, but still, if anyone I knew called me, emailed me, texted me, whatever, just randomly or whatever, just told me, hey, so-and-so died, my initial reaction would be, oh man, that's terrible. I'm sorry to hear that. You know, like, granted, I understand you can't know everyone in the world. You know, it's very hard to feel sympathy for someone you don't know, someone you've never seen, spoken to, anything like that. I get that. But on a basic human level, like, you feel sympathy for that person telling you, because clearly they're going through something. Like, they feel some measure of sympathy and pain. So, you know, I feel like the basic decent human thing you do whenever anyone tells you that, it's like, oh man, I'm so sorry to hear that, you know? But no, my boss just said, yeah, okay. And again, this is probably me making a mountain out of a molehill, but that's just one of those little things in life where, come on, like, fucking come on. But I mean, whatever. Like, again, it's probably just me making a mountain out of a molehill. But that's just something my boss did that really irked the shit out of me. You know, and again, that just fuels me to really get the hell out of there. Like, the job, like I said, the job itself is not something I want to be in. And I've had problems with my boss as far back as I can remember. Like, this is not a person I want to work for anymore. Like, I gotta get myself out of there. So that's something I'm definitely gonna really, you know, as much as I've been working on before, I'm really gonna start upping that now as well, because like I said, that's really just one of the, that just, it irks me so much. And so that's been the major thing going on in my life at the moment, just been dealing with that. And then the other thing that makes me think about is, like I said, like my own family. Like, how am I going to be remembered by my own family? And without any, you know, without any ego, I think with my immediate family, I think if I were to clock out right now, I think I'm in a good place with my family. Like, I'm not trying to brag or anything like that, but like with my immediate, like my brother, my sister, my sister-in-law, my mom, and my dad, like if I went out right now, I like to believe they would remember me fondly. I believe I'm in good standing with them. You know, I don't really know another way to say that. Like, my relationship with all of them is good. The one that would be, I guess, iffy on would be like my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. Like, I can probably do more to reach out to them. You know, so that's something I'm gonna start to work on now in the future, because like I said, it took something like this, you know, every once in a while to make you realize, like, you know, life's too fucking short. You know, so be good, be better to everyone. And so that's one thing I'm gonna start to work on in the very, very near future, is like reaching out to my cousins, especially because I used to be very close to my cousins. Like, I was raised with all my cousins. I used to constantly be around all my cousins. Like, it was awesome. But then, you know, like as life goes on, people get older, people move, jobs get in the way, all that stuff, yada yada yada. And so I don't see or speak to them nearly as much as I used to. And looking on that right now, like, that makes me sad. So that's something I'm definitely gonna work on, work towards repairing those bridges. Sorry. And then my friends, I like to think I'm in pretty good standing with my friends. Like, hang on. Like, we talk constantly, you know. I'm pretty sure they know how I feel about them. It's just, it's so many things left that, like, not even so much unsaid, it's just left undone. Like, I've always wanted to get out of the country. I've always really wanted to go to Japan. Like, that's actually something I've been working on more actively recently. Just like now, like this extra motivation, like I just want to get it done like tomorrow. You know, there's so many things I want to do. And like, I want to make a movie. Like, my degree is in film and television. I've always wanted to do that. So that's kind of what I'm working towards, like leaving my current job to go get something in film and or television, entertainment in general. It's like make something that people look at and enjoy. Like, that's really what I want to do. And this is a rough one. Like, it's really hard for me to kind of just get it all out there. Like, it's all just kind of welling up inside me. Like, the more I think about it, just kind of makes me sad, you know. Because I think about all the things that like that he'll never get to do now. Like his like my niece Stella, my niece, she's only one. Well, like 1.5 now, but like, so, you know, like she's gonna have no memory of him. Like, she's going to grow up not knowing one of her grandfathers. And then my other unborn niece, you know, like she's not gonna have anything. Like my current niece, she's at least gonna have like, we'll be able to like, hey, you know, like these were pictures of you and Grandpa, you know. You know, like you may not know him, but like, see, he knew you and he loved you. But like my unborn one, she's gonna have nothing. You know, she'll never have known her grandfather. And then my sister-in-law, her older sister, has 3 kids. They're all very young. You know, they'll have some memory of him. But still, you know, I remember I'm all over the place for this one. I'm not like that's any different, but I remember the first time I lost one of my grandparents. It was my grandfather. I was 12 or 13. I was somewhere around there. So I was, you know, either was or pretty much a teenager. So, you know, I have all of my memories of him. And then I lost my grandmother a year later, and then so those were both on my dad's side. And then my mom's dad, my grandfather there, he passed. Whew, how long has it been now? Maybe somewhere around 8 to 10 years, somewhere around there, maybe. I'm not entirely sure. It's been a while, I know that. It's been a little while. But yeah, as I was saying, like I at least have, so like I have vivid memories of them, you know. I'll remember them always, but like my niece and my unborn niece, they're not gonna have any memories of him, and that makes me sad as well, because I remember all the good times I had with my grandparents. I still have my grandma on my mom's side, but you know, like the ones who are passed, like I have all the memories and good times seeing them, and they're not gonna have that, and that makes me sad. And so again, coming back around, that makes me think of all the stuff like I want to do. You know, like right now I don't have any kids of my own. I'm not married. But you know, that doesn't mean I can't have a lasting legacy on the people, you know, who are alive right now, how they remember me, and how the world in general remembers me. And so there's all this stuff I want to do now. I mean, that I've been wanting to do, but now, like, you know, faced with my own mortality, you know, reminded of it, I should say, how short life is. I really want to get in gear, get this stuff going, you know. And it's also just another reminder, just like, fuck the bullshit, you know. That's another thing, like, fuck all the things in life that don't matter, you know. Just push them out as best you can. Granted, there's always stuff you got to deal with. Like right now, for me, that's work. Like, I don't like my job, I don't like my boss, but I still go in every day and I do my job and I do it well. Or, you know, as best I can anyways. And like, my boss is gonna be a jerk, so just like, I just try and forget him. I just try and push him out of my mind. You know, I just try and get through the day so I can get home to like the people and the things that matter. It's like, that shit means more to me than anything I'll ever do at work. Like, I'm sorry to reach, like, even my one coworker, like, who's probably, you know, my favorite person I work with, like the thing about her is, like, she is in my boss's pocket, because she's worked with him for like 13 years or however long it's been. She's loyal to him. I completely understand that. I don't fault her for that. You don't bite the hand that feeds you. He's been good to her, all that. So like, I know for a fact she snitches on me. Like, anytime like she thinks I'm doing something wrong or slacking off or whatever, I know for a fact she snitches on me. Like, I have proof of this. I've seen it. So like, you know, I'm just over all of it. I'm over all of it. It's the biggest pain in my ass in my life is work. Like, if I could just fix that, life would be perfect. Of course, they say God doesn't give with 2 hands. So, you know, if everything else in my life is great, something has to suck. So for me, it's work. But still, like, faced with this, it just motivates me to make things better. You know, like, to go out there and like be the change. You know, be the change you want to see in the world. Whether it just be something for yourself or, you know, for like a greater good in general. It's like, if you want to do it, do it. So that's something I'm going to be working on. And yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I feel so much about this, but like, it's hard to express it. It's like, that's part of the reason why I'm doing this podcast. I thought maybe this would help me get it all out, and I guess I've gotten some of it out, but like the rest of it, it's just sadness. Like I just feel this overwhelming sadness that like I'm trying to get it out of me, but like it's just there, you know, like all these thoughts just go through my head about like, what if I died? What if, you know, my dad died? What if my mom died? All these what ifs. Like I understand you can't live life like that. You can't live life in fear like that. And I would say I do a pretty good job of not like dwelling on things like that, like the what ifs. But it's just right now with this recent death that like it's just prevalent in my mind. You know, like I just run through all this stuff constantly now for the past couple of days. And yeah, like I say, it's just the whole, I'm just a mess in my head. And don't get me wrong, like if I'm like this again, I've said it before, I can't imagine what his family's going through, what his children are going through, what his wife is going through. Like that's a hell I don't want to imagine. I don't wish on anybody, but it's something they got to deal with, something they got to get through. They know I love them. They got all my love and support in the world. Do anything for them. But yeah, so I don't know, do I want to transition? Yeah, I might as well. I'll talk a little bit about it. So transitioning out of that, something else going on in my life, well, I mean things I want to do anyways, is so before all that happened over the weekend, I wanted to go see John Wick 3. I haven't seen it yet. I've seen the first two, loved the first two. I've heard really good things about the third. Gonna go check it out. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it. Again, this is the most awkward transition ever from series Death in the Family to John Wick, but like I said, I figure I might as well. But so yeah, so I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy this one as much as the first two, just because in this third one it looks like there's a whole lot more going on. And like, because I feel like the first two were very straightforward, simple plots, whereas I feel like now that they're starting to expand this world, starting to get more complicated. And the action looks like it's still going to be amazing. Like John Wick are terrific action movies. The action is extremely well choreographed and put together. Like Keanu Reeves, I know for a fact Keanu Reeves is very dedicated to his stunt performances and whatnot. He's crushing it. Like it looks fine, but just like with, you know, like he brought in Lawrence Fishburne in the second one. He's coming back in this one. Halle Berry's in this one now. They got in Asia K. Dillon from Billions, and they're in it. And there's someone else in there too, actually. I think Common is back in this one. Common and Ruby Rose were in the second one. So you know, like I feel like we're starting to get a bit jumbled, but we'll see. I could be completely wrong. I'm still very excited to see the movie. I gotta check that out. And then also, because of that, I'm also behind. I want to go see Aladdin at some point. I've heard very mixed reviews about Aladdin. Like, I've heard you either love it or hate it. So I don't know where I'm gonna fall, because I love the animated. You know, Robin Williams, beautiful. So we'll see how this live action goes. Well, probably. I don't know. Will Smith is the genie. I love me some Will Smith. I don't know about this one. The key for me is going to be Will Smith. It's, can I get over that this isn't Robin Williams? Like, because Robin Williams made that genie character so iconic. He did so well. So it's, if I can get past that, I'll probably love the movie. If not, I'll probably think it's okay, because it looks well made. You know, it looks like they put some love and care into this thing. So I don't think it'll be bad. But again, we'll see. Hey, so my camera overheated there for a moment, so I guess that's the universe's way of telling me I shouldn't have transitioned to talking about the movies. So I'll just end it right here, you know. So yeah, thanks for watching, everybody. You know, like, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter and Instagram at KingFranchise88. And I'll end this one by saying, be good to each other. Take care of each other. Love each other. You know, because life's too fucking short. It really is. It's too short to hold on to that, you know. Tell the people you love them. Make amends with enemies, you know. Get new friends. Because really, it's too short. It's too short for this. And, yeah, love you all. Peace.